Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals, TW, and welcome to another stream of conscious style video on Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Yes, there's a bit of a mouthful of a title, but that is the game we're talking about today, and is one that has people divided right down the middle, which is something you could say about many games in the Yakuza / Like a Dragon franchise. Some people love it, some people hate it, and some people just think it's kind of alright. Where do I stand on it? Well, first, of course, the story, and unlike my Mass Effect videos, I'm going to do my gosh damnedest to brass tacks this thing. Gaiden takes place during the first half of Like a Dragon, post-time skip of course, which will become relevant soon enough. Kiryu has spent the last few years working for the Daidoji, who are basically a Black Ops government organization, and he does so under the alias of Joryu. Yeah, not very creative, those Daidoji folks. After a whole bunch of running around here and there, and a bunch of brawling, aka roughly halfway through the game, we finally get around to what in the name of Andraste is going on around here. The Daidoji have teamed up with the Omi Alliance Yakuza to disband not only the Omi for good, but the Tojo clan as well, and they need Kiryu to take care of Homare Nishitani III, who's the head of his own Omi family, as he could disrupt the fuck out of all these plans. Oh, and it should be noted that Nishitani is the owner of an underground hedonistic paradise known as the Castle. After a night out with the boys to lure out the Yakuza Prince of Crime from his abode, Kiryu easily takes that shit over, and Nishitani clearly doesn't like all that too much, so they do what any sane Yakuza would: fight in a burning building! In any other game, this would be mad, but this is RGG, and it's almost mandatory to have at least one battle take place in a burning building. Pretty sure it's in the contract or something. Kiryu wins, but Shishido, the second in command of his family in the Omi, fucking stabs Nishi to death, and this is generally where a second boss fight would take place, but the building is already close to collapsing, so we've got to move on to the disbandment. It looks like everything is going smooth when all of a sudden Shishido turns heel and reveals that he only fake stabbed Nishi, and we've got a massive Yakuza brawl which rules every ass. And then we get to the part in Like a Dragon where the Omi and Tojo officially disband, but this time from Kiryu's point of view, and it's still one of the coolest scenes in the series. And right when you think it's done, we get the ultimate final boss fight against Shishido, who would be challenging, but I've got Kiryu going Ultra Instinct mode, so that health bar, massive as it may be, is no match for how completely broken the Dragon of Dojima is. My short-ass summary really doesn't do justice to how epic this final stretch of gameplay really is. RGG did not rest on their laurels here. Then we get the most emotional ending in any RGG game, as Kiryu for the first time in years got a brief glimpse into the lives of the children in Okinawa, and as someone who adores Yakuza 3, this scene hit really fucking hard. It's difficult for me to watch this without tearing up a little bit, and huge props to Yong for nailing his performance as Kiryu. I know a lot of people have been bitching and moaning and whining like they do, but after playing through Gaiden, I can say that RGG made one hell of a choice in casting him as the Dragon of Dojima. Does he sound exactly like Takeya Kuroda? No, but then again, when in the fuck does an English VA sound exactly like their Japanese counterparts? Onto the gameplay, it's the usual RGG gameplay where you're given a small but dense region to explore, with this entry being located in Sotenbori, and goodness gracious me, this place has never looked better. I have never enjoyed a first-person feature more than I did with Gaiden, just absolute gorgeous rendering of this city. The combat is also just as smooth, with Kiryu having both his usual brawling style, but now we can switch to a new one, Agent style. Here you can use gadgets to really fuck with the enemies, with my favorites being the Spider Wire, which allows you to yeet the enemies all over the place, and Serpent, which gives Kiryu rocket-powered shoes, and no, I'm not even joking. The main side content is in the castle, but more specifically the arena, where you can do not just mano-a-mano fights, but also team battles. And did I mention you can also play as Goto Majima here? And if that's not good enough, the castle comes with a boutique which allows you to style Kiryu out in some decent attires. Yeah, the selection is limited, so here's hoping Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii will have a wider selection. Oh, and am I the only one who gets Queen's Quest vibes from this mask? Am I the only one? Is it just me? Let me know in the comments section. Also, let me know if you also miss Queen's Quest. The second big side activity is the returning pocket circuit, which is basically the same as it was in Zero and Kiwami. Nevertheless, I am glad this returned because it may be a simple activity, but it's still a fun one. Of course, with this being a Sega game, there's also some classic arcade games to participate in, with the most notable inclusion being Sonic the Fighters. It's decent, definitely not something I'd buy on its own, but I'm glad that I at least got to finally experience playing it. Now 1v1 me, some call me Johnny. There's also a racing game, but it's not super hang-on, so despite its super rad opening theme, I don't really care. There's also a Virtua Fighter, but the AI got bullshit difficult, so I don't care. And we can't talk about RGG without discussing karaoke, and overall, Yong did a decent job singing these tunes. Not the best singer, of course, he's not Little V or Tam Nakano, but Yong gets the job done well. That's also what I can say about the song selection, but that's mainly because it doesn't contain Judgment from Zero, which is an underrated bop. Now, for the most controversial part of the game, the side missions, or more so how they're handled. During the end of the first act, you'll run into Akane, who basically is the florist of Sai, but for Sotenbori, and all the side quests are gained through her. On one end, this makes completing them super easy, but on the other, it makes getting them feel much less organic than the other entries. At the very least, Akane is a very well developed character, and you get to learn more about her as you complete more side missions. The only thing I don't like is how the game sometimes forces you to do several missions in order to progress through the main story. So, what do I overall think about Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name? It's a very solid entry. Sure, there are times where the plot seems to take an age to know where it's going, but once it does, oh boy, does it take the fuck off. I can see how this one isn't for everybody, but I had a blast. Before we get out of here, just want to mention two things about the game that I didn't get to in the scripted portion of this video. Number one, the fact that Yong and Sungwon Cho share a scene together. Those are two people who got their notice, at least from me as far as I'm concerned, on YouTube. That's how they got their fame. And yet here they are sharing a scene together in a video game. In fact, let me just move over Mia and point over Mia. There's the scene right there. Look at that. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Yeah, cool. And number two, the fact, here's something. I miss when RGG made small but dense towns in their video games. In recent games, especially in Infinite Wealth, they made the map way too big, just way too big in my opinion. That could just be me. You know, if you enjoy the big old map of Hawaii, then you know what? Fair play to you. Rock on in the free world with your opinion. For me though, like one of the things that brought me to the Yakuza series that really made it appealing is the fact that the map is super small yet super dense with a lot to do in it. It doesn't take too much time to get from point A to point B, even if it's on the opposite side of the map. It'll take you like maybe 2 minutes tops, if you get into a fight. However, in Hawaii, it could take significantly longer because they really want to show off their budget, but at the same time, I wish they'd put that budget towards other things like a more complete set of minigames and side activities, which I did not feel was there in Infinite Wealth as much as it was in the previous Like a Dragon game, or even more so even here, you know? Like, this game, Like a Dragon Gaiden, feels like it had more to do in the side activities than Infinite Wealth did, at least as far as depth goes. But once again, that could just be me. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I am now going to work on the next video, and what is that going to be? What is that going to be? Indubitably indeed. You'll have to find out. I'm going to put it at the end of the credits because I have not thought of what I'm going to do next yet. So once I'm done editing, that is when I'll come to my conclusion. Gotta love when that happens. But hey, that's just what happens in life sometimes. Thank you all for watching. Have a perfect rest of your day. I am tired. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go sleep now. Bye-bye.